Okay, so yesterday we talked about central angles, and we said that a central angle is made with two radii that come from the center of the circle. So you have a radius, and the angle and the arc were equal to each other. Okay, so the central angle is made using two radii from the circle, and the central angle equals the measure of the arc. Okay, so today we're going to shift our thought a little bit here, and we're going to do an inscribed angle. And an inscribed angle has its vertex on the circle. It has nothing to do with the center of the circle. It has going to be on the circle. So if you notice these two dots I have here, or these two circles, they have a point on the circle, and an inscribed angle is made with two chords of the circle. So I'm just going to draw in chord, remember, goes from one side to the other. It's a segment. And I am just going to draw in my two chords and the measure of the inscribed angle. So this is going to be in here. This is our inscribed angle, and this is our arc. Okay, so now instead of the angle coming from the center, the angle is coming from the side. And the measure of the inscribed angle is half the measure of the arc. So all you would have to do is divide. To do half, you just divide by 2. So if you had an arc and you were going to figure out the angle, you would just divide by 2. Okay, if you're going the other way, the measure of the arc, so let's give ourselves a couple of chords here. Okay, similar. And here's our angle. And here is our arc. The measure of the arc is 2 times the measure of the angle. So if we had the angle and we wanted to know the arc, we would multiply it times 2. So we're either thinking we're going to double or we're going to halve, basically is what we're thinking here. So basic problem here. This is the arc. If I am given an arc and I want to know the angle that goes along with it, I just divide by 2. I got that big arc there, and I'm going down to that tiny little angle, which means it's going to be a smaller number, so I'm going to divide by 2. So I would just have 90 divided by 2, which is 45 degrees. And then going the other way, I have an angle, and I want to know the arc. When I'm going from the tiny angle out to the bigger arc, I'm going to multiply it times 2. So I would take 38 times 2, which would be 76 degrees. Okay, let's go ahead and look at another example that is a little bit more involved. We do have a diameter here, and that's going to help us out just a little bit, but we're going to figure out some different arcs here. Okay, so we have, first question is arc TU. So arc TU goes from here to here. That is the arc that goes along with that inscribed angle. So to go from our inscribed angle to our arc, we are just going to multiply times 2. And 61 times 2 is 122 degrees. So I have 122 out here. Okay. The measure of arc STU, so I have here is S coming through T all the way over to U. Okay, if we look at that, STU, that's just, it has a diameter there. It's a semicircle, so that's a semicircle, which is 180 degrees. Okay, so I know the whole thing is 180 degrees. If I just want this little guy right here, that ST, all I'm going to do is going to take that whole semicircle and I'm going to subtract what I know. And 180 minus 122 is just 58 degrees. Okay, nice, short and sweet little lesson here we have today. So we are just going to look at a couple more examples here. Okay, so ultimately we want to know, the question is asking, what is arc VU? Well, arc VU is over here. Well, that is not the arc that goes with our inscribed angle, but we do have some things that we know. So we do know that my inscribed angle is 30 degrees, and if I'm going out from angle to arc, I'm going to multiply times 2. So this is going to be 60 degrees. So arc TV is 60 degrees. TVU is a semicircle. And a semicircle is always 180 degrees, which means if we have the whole blue and we know 60 degrees of it, then the rest of it is just going to be 180 minus 60, which is 120 degrees. So sometimes you have to think about all of the different arcs as you're going through here to figure out the one that we want to have. So this last one, we are again trying to figure out WX. It's going to be similar, but on this one we do not have a diameter. There is no diameter, which means there's nothing to do with 180 degrees on this question. So if we want to know what that blue is, first thing, we have an angle, and we can figure out this arc. Okay, so to figure out that, we're just going to multiply times 2. 75 times 2 is 150. Excuse me, is 150 degrees. Okay, so the red arc is 150. Okay, WYX. Okay, that's going to go from WYX is all of that. And we know that WY is 150, YX is 110. So really, all we have to do to figure that out is we add 150 plus 110, which gets us 260. So that gray is 260 degrees. We also know that all the way around the entire circle is 360 degrees. And out of that 360 degrees, we know 260 of it. So the remaining part, which is the blue part, is just going to be 360 minus 260, which is 100 degrees. So again, kind of like yesterday, there's not a ton of algebra that we're doing along with this, but we are just looking at angles and figuring out the arcs that go along with them.